And so we have a piece of legislation that says let's extend the wind energy tax credit. Let's extend the tax credit that takes energy from the sun. Minority side says no. They don't want to do that.
When I saw the leader of my party rise to ask the body to send Senate Bill 1 to conference, and keep in mind what the vote was. It was 96-2. The Republican leader objected. What in the world is going on?
I object.
To revise my remarks in support of the reform.
Mr. Speaker, because the Democratic bill gives women more opportunities to enter the medical profession and the modern health care workforce, I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks in support of the Democratic bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Because it's time to protect older women by closing the donut hole, I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks on this bill, which will limit age rating that makes coverage unaffordable for older women.
I object, Mr. Speaker.
I ask unanimous consent to revise my remarks in support of reform that ensures that no mother...
There's no request before the House yet.
Mr. Speaker, and I yield to the gentlelady from Massachusetts, Ms. Songus, for unanimous consent request.
Because women shouldn't have to buy a separate policy for maternity care, Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks in support of the Democratic bill.
I object, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Because the Democratic...
Mr. Speaker, I object.
Chair's going to observe.
For America is on right now. The president and his left-wing allies in Congress are going to look at every opportunity to destroy the Constitution before we have a chance to say it. Some things we can deal with just in a political way and just, by the votes we cast. Other things will require a commitment to passing on our culture, and we really do have one, It is based on Judeo-Christian principles, whether people like it or they don't. That's who we are. That is who we are. And if you don't like it, don't come here. And if you're here and you don't like it, go home. Go someplace else.
His middle name, Hussein. Now the news that he was raised a Muslim.
Apparently, when he was a young boy, he attended a Muslim school, a madrasa.
Is huge.
He went to this madrasa for 4 years.
Went to a madrasa. Madrasa.
Madrasa.
Madrasa.
CNN did what any serious news organization is supposed to do. We actually conducted an exclusive first-hand investigation.
And we wanted to know how this innocent elementary school became this false report.
One thing that has to be decided right now or very soon is what to do about the Bush tax cuts. Now, Paul, this happened under your watch, but this is a famous moment in your relationship with your client, the president. You were not really in favor of those tax cuts.
No, in fact, I was strongly opposed to the Bush tax cut that was enacted in 2003. It's one of the reasons I got fired.
The Obama administration wants to extend the Bush tax cuts only for those who make less than $250,000, and he wants to let them expire for those wealthy Americans making more than that. You're opposed to that. You want to extend the tax cuts, and the Republican leadership does. But Alan Greenspan, who was on this program last week, chairman of the Federal Reserve, said that's the wrong idea. Here's what he said.
Look, I'm very much in favor of tax cuts, but not with borrowed money. And the problem that we've gotten into in recent years is spending programs with borrowed money, tax cuts with borrowed money, and at the end of the day, that proves disastrous.
You don't agree with Republican leaders who say tax cuts pay for themselves.
They do not.
Leader Boehner, he puts it right to you. Leader Boehner, he puts it right to you.
The only way we're going to get our economy going again and solve our budget problems is to get the economy moving, get more people back to work where they can care for their own families, and begin to expand the tax rules to bring more revenue to the federal government. And what we have to do is we have to get our arms around the spending spree that's going on in Washington, D.C.
But Leader Boehner, I'm sorry, you're not being responsive to a specific point, which is how can you be for cutting the deficit and also cutting taxes as well when they're not paid for?
Listen. You can't raise taxes in the middle of a weak economy without risking a double dip in this recession.
But do you agree that tax cuts cannot be paid for? But tax cuts are not paid for. Is that correct?
I am not for raising taxes on the American people in a soft economy.
That's not the question, Leader Boehner. The question is, are tax cuts paid for or not?
Listen, what you're trying to do is get into this Washington game, and they're funny accounting over there. You cannot get the economy going again by raising taxes on those people who we expect to create jobs in America and to get the economy going again. If we want to solve the budget problem, we've got to have a healthy economy, and we have to get our arms around the runaway spending.
I want to clarify this. I mean, I'm relying on what Chairman Greenspan said. Maybe if you're accusing him of funny Washington games, he says that tax cuts that aren't paid for are not cutting the deficit. That they are not actually paid for. It's borrowed money. And so, do you believe tax cuts pay for themselves or not?
I do believe that we've got to get more money in the hands of small businesses.
When you start to look at who's going to be taxed, about half of all small business income will be taxed under the president's proposal. These are the very people that we expect to invest in the economy and to begin creating jobs.
Now, let me just say this. The Joint Committee on Taxation, which is a nonpartisan body, says that only 3% of those small business people, you keep talking about all the small business people that are going to get taxed, only 3% would be affected by that. Or do you quarrel with that figure? Is that a right figure or a wrong figure?
Well, it may be 3%, but it's half of small business income because obviously the top 3% have half of the gross income for those companies that we would term small businesses. And this is why you don't want to punish these people at a time when you have a weak economy.
Well, it's a little misleading. About 44% of all of what the IRS calls business profits go to the top 3%. But that includes lawyers, big law firms, not exactly a popular Republican group, doctors, particularly surgeons and specialists. So these, in many cases, are not what we think of as a small business that are creating and adding to the economy, manufacturers, the creators of new kinds of services.